Sawadee Krap. Welcome to NBT World's The Fireside. I'm Benjamin Ruchopakan, and every week we have a fireside chat exploring what's going on in Thailand, diving deep into our latest obsessions. Now, joining me today is Rick Brown of Helmet Heroes Thailand, which is doing some amazing stuff here in the country, and I can't wait to share it with you today. Sawadee Krap, Kun Rick.
Sawadee Krap.
So go ahead and introduce yourself and Helmet Heroes Thailand for those of us who don't know.
Sure. I had an accident when I was young. When I was 14, some really bad kids sabotaged the brakes on my bicycle. And I was living and going to school in upstate New York. And unfortunately, I went down the hill without brakes in a winter storm and ended up in a ditch, wasn't wearing a helmet, and landed on my head. And I've had spinal trauma and PTSD ever since. I'm okay now. I can move, but still have some minor complications. But I'm lucky and happy to be alive.
So you had spinal trauma, like could you move afterwards? Like
not initially. Like I woke up from the accident, and you kind of wake up. You're a 14-year-old kid, not sure what's just happened, and all your sensors are kind of going. You can't really hear, can't really talk, can't really breathe. I just had trauma to the spine. It affects all the organs.
Yeah.
And I could see my left arm. And I remember looking down at my left arm and seeing it. So naturally you say to yourself, okay, well, move.
Yeah.
And it didn't move, but then it did move. I don't remember if it was 15 seconds or 30. You don't remember when you're going through shock, but it moved on its own like a dead fish. It just kind of flopped around. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. And the only thing I could say at the time, because I couldn't really breathe and couldn't really talk, so the only words I could say were help and hospital. So I'm whispering this, help, hospital. And then I was just really lucky. I was told this happened. A Salvation Army nurse from Sweden happened to be driving by. She stopped, was trying to talk to me. I'm bleeding at the mouth, asking for information. She's got an accent. I'm trying to talk to her, and it's like a little frustrating because we can't communicate very well. And then just my luck, a New York State trooper happened to drive by. And back then, there was no cell phones. Everything was done. You got to go inside and use an actual telephone that was attached to the wall. We didn't have phones. So he, I don't know, he or she, the state trooper drove by, saw the accident, was lucky, and then called it in to dispatch, and then ambulance showed up and took me to the hospital.
That is such a terrifying story. Like I can't imagine. Even as an adult, that would terrify me. But you were 14.
Yeah, it's pretty scary to go through that, and then having to just not really understand what's happening to your body. You're in shock, and just a lot of things are going through your mind and your body physically. It's a terrible, scary experience, and I don't wish that upon anyone. And ever since then, I've had a lot of physical pain from the accident.
Gosh.
And not only that, but suffering from PTSD, which if anyone doesn't understand what that means, it's post-traumatic stress disorder, which I didn't know I had it until years and years later. And just, reacting to certain things makes, you just kind of wonder what's happening.
It triggers you. It
triggers.
Like people really think of it as like something only war veterans have.
Correct.
Right?
People who go through war, it's a lot stronger. But anyone can have PTSD from any experience. It can be from an accident, can be anything. But so what happened is, fast forward, I came to Thailand. I'm here, kind of retired, thinking what am I going to do with myself? Just enjoy life and I don't like the idea of being retired. I want to do something. And I happened to be out at Central in Pattaya, the Central Festival. And in that moment, I stepped outside. I'm having now what's called a PTSD trigger. So I can feel it in my neck.
Gosh.
I start to itch.
Yeah.
And the itch gets stronger and stronger. And I said, okay, a storm is coming.
And this is fully like psychosomatic. This is fully like a psychological, this isn't like,
there's physical damage to the spine in C1 and C4. So where those nerves are probably damaged, it's triggering the physical, it's almost like saying, having a muscle that's contracting, but it's holding on and doesn't want to let go.
Right.
So
it's just wound tight.
It's wound tight and doesn't want to let go. And then it becomes stressful. And it's so stressful that I start to itch.
Yeah.
And then I know that a storm is coming. And usually within 24 hours, there's a storm coming. So as you can imagine, this morning, the storms all this week.
No, yeah,
I've been triggering.
Right.
Yeah.
So like every monsoon is just like,
yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. I manage it a lot better than I used to.
That's good.
You know, PTSD, you got to kind of learn and understand what the condition is to get through the condition. So I've gone through that. But so what happened is I'm at Central, I'm walking out, and as I'm walking out, I'm getting a PTSD trigger. And I'm watching traffic and I'm saying to myself, this isn't good. I see all these children on motorcycles without helmets. I said, I don't want them to experience the pain that I've experienced my whole life.
Your whole life. One
Since
accident.
I was 14, yeah.
Since you were 14, one terrible prank. I mean, usually we just did spitballs in the classroom. Like I've never cut the brakes on another kid's bike. That's it. That's some psychopath behavior.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, one accident compounded by not wearing a helmet, you know, just changed your life.
It changed my life. And, you know, things happen for a reason, right? And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I can walk. And I'm grateful that I have this opportunity now with Helmet Heroes.
Yeah.
So I was out that day and I see these kids without helmets. And I said to myself, there it is. This is the problem that I'm going to solve. I'm going to solve it. So I got excited and I immediately went out and I bought some helmets. I've got some helmets. I went down to Central and I said, okay, well, I got to be respectful to Thai culture. I'm not sure how this is going to be perceived. Are people going to think that I'm being pushy?
Right. Like you don't want to be like patronizing, or you don't want to like, you know, like be preachy, I guess.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And say, and feel like I'm scolding a parent.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know the reasons behind their decisions. I don't know. I'm not going to judge people. All I want to do is protect. I see a child without a helmet. Can I protect? So I asked the police. I said, hey, can I do this? And they said, not only did they say yes, but they said, we'll help you. I said, oh, wow, this is so cool. So I went out. The first time I did it was actually quite interesting. I'm tall, I'm 192. So I can see over traffic and I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, deck. There's one right there. There's a kid. And the road is a one-way road. So the police stop this lady. He blows his whistle. She pulls over. I run. I'm running over to her. I'm so excited. I got my first helmet. He's walking over. I get to her first. And I'm like, you know, at the time, I can only speak English. I can't speak any Thai. And I'm like, I want to give your child a helmet. And she starts arguing with me in English.
Oh.
And saying, but I'm just going to Central. It's right there.
Right.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not the police. He's the police. I just want to give you a helmet.
I wonder if it was like the context of her being like whistled, you know, like the police officer, like
probably
stopping her, like, no, it's cool. It's just a short trip, which we all know how that could end.
She's just making an excuse. I get it because she doesn't want a ticket. The police officer finally comes over and he said, no ticket. You take free helmet. And she's still arguing with him, but I'm just going to, she's not listening to anything.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a funny thing. And I was like, just want to give you a helmet. She's like, oh, it like dawned on her, like, oh, free? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it was just at that moment that I realized that, okay, this is so cool. And it was like therapy for me. It truly was. It was just having that helmet and just putting it on the child's head, even if they just drove away and wore it for 5 minutes, it was therapy. It was just an amazing moment where I felt just so cool, just like, wow, this kid's got some protection now and maybe he's going to be safe.
That's incredible. Like the opportunity to like right a wrong almost.
Yeah.
And you're, you know, like obviously not because your brakes were cut, but because just to do something like, oh, I wish I could have done this differently. Like, well, you know, how many times did you go back on, you know, think about that incident and think like, oh, but you know what, if I wore a helmet.
Right. If I were only wearing a helmet in that moment, maybe I wouldn't have had the spinal trauma.
Yeah.
But okay, I can't go back and change that, but I can change the future for these kids just by protecting one child. I say this to people all the time. If you want to make a difference in this world, you don't have to wait until you have millions of dollars. You could just smile at somebody, make their day. For me, it was, I've got one helmet. Let's protect one child.
It's surprising like how small it started, like, because, just a helmet here, a helmet there, because, the impact that you can have can be so much bigger than that, just by these small gestures.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely grown since then, hasn't it?
It has. It's quite amazing when you think about, this was just me literally stopping traffic on Beach Road, yelling at people, Mokonok deck free.
Yeah.
And then many people drive by going, what's that talking dog doing over there?
What's he want? I don't want to be stopped.
I'm not really sure what he's yelling at us for, but just keep driving.
Yeah.
So in my videos online, I post to social media, what you do see are all me stopping the ones that did say yes.
Right.
There's a lot of people that said no, but because I work closely with the police and we do helmet giveaways in front of Central, and the police are so amazing. They come out to all the events that we put together in our local restaurants, and we do helmet giveaways with local businesses. Everyone stops for the police.
Yeah.
So it's really easy.
Sure.
It's just like, oh, you're stopping, and here are helmets.
It must be so good also for the police to like finally, present the solution instead of punishing the behavior necessarily, like to be part of the solution, because that's their job. Their job is law enforcement, but just telling people, hey, you're supposed to wear who you're supposed to wear, but then for them to finally be part of like a positive force in the community,
100%,
and do something like and partner with you, like I'm sure they were only too happy.
Oh, elated. They're so excited to be part of this. They're the Thai police have been so professional and just really made me feel like I'm part of their team, in a big way. It's just been incredible, really, truly.
I think it's, it's so underrated. Like, it's so underrated to like volunteer. Like, we always think of it as time out of our day, but to do something for the community and feel like you feel it in the moment where you feel that bond forming and that smile happening, organically in the other person.
And exactly, that's exactly it. You feel that bond. And that's why it only takes one person. If all I did was give out one helmet a day, I feel that connection. Yeah. And I feel that bond.
That's already worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. It makes my day. It truly does.
So you've talked about how this is, this has become a movement. So like, talk a little bit more about the Helmet Heroes movement.
Sure. So I think a lot of times when people are thinking about doing something, if I give a child a helmet, I can walk away from that and say, ta-da, I've done something. But I think this is more about the community. It's about bringing together all of the right organizations and people to make this happen over time, not just for the day. And what I mean is, if we get everyone involved, the police, the schools, local businesses, big corporations, the government, everybody wants to help. So let's bring everyone to the table collectively and work together as a team. And that's what we've done. We've kind of branched out to everyone as part of that ecosystem to say, hey, can you help? We're not asking for much from anybody, just their support in a certain way, which is kind of easy, to engage with my content. That's what we're asking for. And when you have everyone part of that equation and we're all helping together, that's where it makes a difference.
First, I gotta say, like, this is what social media is for.
100%.
This is what
100%.
This is what we're supposed to be doing with social media.
Correct.
But the other thing is, I feel like you've really tapped into some fundamental truth about how this is really a whole of society endeavor. Like, we have to bring everybody in on something that they all want, but maybe they don't necessarily have the tools, or they don't have the model, or they don't have the mechanism to like come together and a reason to come together and interact with each other. Can I ask, like, what do you feel about Helmet Heroes is overcoming the resistance to wearing a helmet in the first place? Like why aren't people just wearing it? Like, what's the issue?
So it's a really good question, right? And I've asked this directly to locals who aren't wearing helmets, and you get some different answers. The biggest issue, I think, among young women is simply they don't want to mess up their hair.
Yeah, sure.
Right? I get that. But you want to risk your face in the process? I think that's crazy, right? Because if your face is scarred, these beautiful young faces, and if it's scarred, you're going to be scarred for life. And that's pain, right? To have that, to go through every single day with that pain of a scar on your face. When if all you did was wear a helmet, maybe you'd think about it quite differently.
It's so crazy that it feels like people are willing to roll the dice on something like this. It feels crazy to and because maybe, I don't know the exact statistics, but if it's happening to a fraction of people, but those people are dead or disabled, it's like even the smallest risk isn't worth it.
It's not worth it, but unfortunately, people go through every day thinking the mentality is, well, I only go to work, it's only 5 minutes away, right? But 95% of accidents happen within 5 minutes. But because it hasn't happened to me yet, they're thinking, well, it will never happen to me. Just like I was thinking when I was on my bicycle, I've never been in an accident. I don't need to wear a helmet. I'm not wearing a helmet, but then it happens.
It only takes one.
It only takes one. And I'm lucky, to, be walking, to be honest. And a lot of the people end up disabled, which is, it's truly tragic. And what people forget too is you're now a burden onto yourself and to your family and to your friends, and that really affects the family. It affects the local community, local economy. It's a trickle down effect. It really is.
So now that you've said that, so there's this whole knock on of, not just the person, the tragic loss of life that's possible, but becoming disabled, having a disability or mobility challenged, and the way that ripples out to the whole community, all the caretakers that you'll need for the rest of your life, and what the productive member of society that it takes out of Thailand.
Right.
Can you talk about is there any kind of difference in terms of how that impacts different socioeconomic groups and things like that?
Yeah, I think people forget that if let's say a family has both parents working and they're dependent on both parents working, and then you take a risk and you get into an accident, now one of those two caretakers has to take care of, let's say it's a child that gets hurt, right? So mom's not going to work now, right? Now you have a family with one income, the dad. Right. And you've got the burden of having to take care of a child. So that's where it truly affects the family, because you've got loss of income, but now more expenses for the rest of your life. And you've got a member that's not productive anymore. That really affects everybody, especially the family.
It also affects their future, right? Because not that children are obligated to, but it would be great if children took care of their parents. But now that's out of the equation. It's
out of the equation. They can't do it. Exactly that. So if you're a poor family, it's a huge risk to go without the helmet, because you're risking not only yourself, but you're risking your family's ability to earn a living.
And so the problem is even disproportionately affecting lower income 100%. Families.
Yeah, it affects them even more. But then the problem becomes, okay, it's twofold. A lot of these families say, we just can't afford a helmet. Even if a helmet is very inexpensive, it's just not something they're thinking about when they're thinking about other basic needs for the day. They're not thinking about safety. They're just thinking, I just need to feed my kids. Why am I thinking about a helmet? And they look around, they go, well, everyone else isn't wearing a helmet. Why do I need to wear a helmet? Right? It's no different than when I grew up. We didn't have seatbelts on buses. Right? In the U.S. As kids would flop around the seats.
I did that growing up for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But now you go, it's unheard of to think of a bus without seatbelts.
Right. Yeah.
Because something was a catalyst to make that change.
I'll be honest, it's still unheard of here.
Really? Okay.
Not that I've been on the bus recently, but gosh, I don't know if I've worn a seatbelt. That's a second project right there. It says bus seatbelts.
And bus seatbelts. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so you've said that you look around, nobody's wearing a helmet for sure. Sometimes I'll be taking a Grab And I think like maybe a third of all the grabs, when I ask for a helmet, they're like, oh, no.
Right.
I don't have any. Is that cool? And then I got to cancel, but then it's a penalty on me to cancel.
Right.
So, and I'm already running late. So I'm like, I guess I'll just hold my own head. I don't like, so it's definitely like, how wide scale do you think this problem is, like, especially talking about children?
Again, it's a huge problem. If you go into the touristy areas, from my own perspective where I live, I see a low number of kids wearing helmets, but I still do see some occasionally. Mm-hmm. But if I go out to other provinces, like Koh Lan, for example, the island, there's no helmets. Yeah. Not one single helmet. Even the rental places don't even have them because, like, well, nobody wears them.
And
here.
that's super weird.
Yeah,
that's super, like, weird. Of all places, it should be the rental place.
It should
be a compliance thing, if anything.
It should be. I mean, it is the law, but, the problem is that if there's too many people breaking the law, that everyone feels like that this is the norm and we can just get away with it. Nothing's going to happen to us.
Right.
Right.
Can I ask, like, so the one statistic I do have here is the Thai population health burden index says 59% of premature deaths among Thai children and youth were due to road accidents in 2023. Mm-hmm. A staggering amount, really.
Huge. It's too high, way too high.
Why don't you think that this issue is getting perhaps as much attention as it should?
I think it is getting attention, and it has gotten attention. Okay. I think the government has done a fairly good job of addressing it. I think NGOs, not-for-profits, have done a decent job of giving it a voice. Mm-hmm. I think the difference is consistency over time. From what I've done, and to your point of what you said before, social media has been that catalyst for me.
Right.
And maybe others should do it too, because they haven't, but I do it every day. I'm consistent every single day with this, to a point where if you look where it's grown to today, that, to your point, has worked. Right. And I think other groups maybe haven't embraced the social media. And if they do, more power to them. I wish they would. Let's all, compete against each other. This is not competition to me. This is like, great, let's protect
Everyone's
everybody.
winning here.
Everyone wins. Yeah,
We're all collaborating here.
Yeah.
So you've talked about collaborating with police. That was your very first interaction, was collaborating with police. Yes. But you've also mentioned talking to schools and stuff, which obviously that makes sense, where all the children are.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that collaboration with schools.
So we've only done 2 schools to date.
Okay.
And thankfully, the police came to me and said, "Hey, would you like to go with us to a school?" And I said, "Absolutely. That would be fantastic, because I would love to be able to do distribution directly to the schools, not just to protect the students, but to protect the staff as well. Because they're the influencers.
Right.
My mother was a school principal / teacher. So to me, going into a school is just so natural, the way to do this. We get the kids there, we do education. And this goes back to another point you made too. It's not just about handing someone a helmet and saying, bye, have a nice day, hope you're safe.
Yeah.
We want to educate the kids. We want to go into the schools. We want to do educational programs to teach the kids about safety, how to wear a helmet properly.
Yeah.
If you notice, a lot of people, they'll drive around with helmets and either half on their head, right? No straps. Yeah. It actually makes it more dangerous.
Loose straps.
Yeah, it's more dangerous. If you fall down off a bike and the helmet isn't properly on, it'll actually torque and it can break your neck and do more damage. Then you're paralyzed from the neck down.
Every time I put on a helmet, I have that anxiety, weirdly. I have that anxiety that, like, okay, but if this like slips off and just like chokes me, right? If I don't have it snug.
Yeah, it's got to be snug. It's like wearing a shoe, right? Yeah. You don't want your feet to flop around. It has to be properly, fitted for your foot, just like it has to be fitted for your head. So the straps have to be good. Every helmet that people should be buying should have a TIS, which is Thailand Industry of Standards, should have that certificate on it. If it doesn't, you shouldn't buy the helmet.
Gotcha.
This is why we only buy the helmets that are made in Thailand, that have the safety certificate. We don't buy outside of Thailand. We only buy helmets that are made here with certificates.
That's really good to hear, because we definitely want to support local, but also we don't, we want to make sure that we're not just giving away placebo helmets.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah, because they do more damage.
Yeah.
They will do more damage. They may prevent you from getting scalping your head, right? But it's going to break your neck, so it's not good.
Does it like help to like make the helmets cuter, or does it, like with vape pens? No. But like, does it help to? Does it like what are kids responding to in terms of incentives and the value of wearing a helmet?
So I think at a young age, the young kids are willing because the police are there. We're there as an authority figure. The teachers are all there. We're all coming together to say to the students, hey, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to wear helmets. And when we did the last school giveaway of 200, it was 180 students and 20 teachers. So we made sure every staff member had a helmet. Right. They're the influencers. Yeah. So we need them to be wearing the helmets so the kids go, oh, okay, you're wearing it. You meant what you said. Yeah, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll wear it too.
That's true. There's nothing more like sort of invalidating than when the puyai is not doing the same thing. When the role model is not correct, wearing the helmet too.
Correct. And if the parent isn't wearing a helmet, right, the child's going to think, well, mom and dad aren't wearing it. Why do I need to wear it? Right. Yeah. So we're trying to instill that new idea in them that, hey, this is not only good for you, but it's good for your family too, because you're protecting your family in the process. So what we're doing, and this answers a little bit more in depth of your question you asked earlier, we're not just giving away a helmet and saying, bye, have a nice day. We're creating those rewards. So instead of punishing them and having the police give the parents a ticket, we're saying to the kids and the parents, we want to reward you for good behavior. If you wear your helmet, we've got all these local businesses that we're signing up. Oh. Yeah. And if you go in, you can get a discount. You can get a free ice cream, free cookie, free this, free that, spin a wheel on something. We're making it fun, and we're encouraging the kids to wear it, because you're only going to get an opportunity to win those things if you show up wearing your helmet.
That's perfect. I love that, because I'm always on the hunt for a good deal. So that, for sure. I'm not even a kid.
Well, you can find a kid and say, kid, come with me. I need a discount.
Hey, wear this helmet with me as I go into this business.
Exactly.
So you do business deals, you do sponsorships and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've got corporations now that are sponsoring us, which is so amazing when you think about where I started, just me, waving at people on the street. Yeah. And now we've got, so Ducati, the Italian motorcycle company, Ducati Motors Thailand is sponsoring us. Yeah. We're in talks right now with some other big motorcycle manufacturers that have actually reached out to us personally. Instead of me reaching out, they're now reaching out to us.
That's such a perfect CSR for them. That's such a perfect,
it's incredible. It's perfect.
Like on message, Yeah. I love that. And I love that you're also involving the community and local businesses. And I can't wait to see this grow. I can't wait to see this, this movement take off. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. So let's turn it over to our audiences now. Would you support a campaign like Helmet Heroes Thailand in your country? And do you think that Helmet Heroes should go region-wide? Should we just make it an ASEAN Helmet Heroes thing? Let us know in the comment section of NBT World's online channels. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify. Thank you so much for coming onto the program, Rick. I can't tell you what it means to spotlight such a great nonprofit like yourself on this program.
Appreciate it.
And and signal boost that.
Yeah, we want to protect everybody. That's our goal.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.